What's up, guys? Alex here, and welcome on back to another Minecraft video. Today, I will be talking about a very saturated question out there for Minecraft, which is how to build better. And as I consider myself a pretty good builder, and I absolutely love building, I thought I could share a couple of tricks with all of you to help you all build better inside of your own Minecraft worlds. But before we start, guys, I would like to ask you if you could just go down there, hit that like button, and subscribe for me. I spend a lot of time on these videos, and it would mean the world to me if you just went down there and clicked those two buttons for me. I would greatly appreciate it. With that though, let's get straight into it. Okay guys, so number one on the list for today is adding texture. Now this is a very important tip when it comes to building because it's actually pretty ugly having just a plain cobblestone wall. And if I grab some more stone bricks that are not infested, right here, you can see that actually, let's break this out. Let's make it a stone wall. So if we compare the stone wall to a stone wall that's been textured just a bit, like so, you can see that this one looks 1,000 times better than this one, and obviously this would be on a larger scale, but even that, it looks very more depth. It has more contrast. It's a bit better, and overall it just looks better, and it helps to add variety to your walls. So that's how you can texture. And really the way I do this is I just go with my walls. I grab my whatever type of wall I go, and I just randomly put in some pieces here and there. There's no particular pattern you need to do this in. Sometimes I like to switch things out for the way that I like to do it because I've been doing this for a while. So now I get used to what I think looks good and when I think it's repetitive. But really, it's just spraying a whole bunch of materials on there and just putting a whole bunch of materials. And this can be done with a whole bunch of things. For example, if you have granite, you can use polished and also bricks, which all have the same type of tone. And if you bring this in, you can have another pretty looking wall that has detail and more depth and stuff like that. So, number one, add some texture and make your walls just pop that much further. Next up on the list at number two is roofs. Here is something that people have a lot of trouble with, and I see so many people out there that do something like this. If I can place my stairs right, and let's get a slab like so. And yeah, so I see so many people that do this, and with just a couple more blocks over here, just bringing it out, it already looks so much better. And then we even adding some underneath stairs like so, it looks even better from there. And you can make this in any type. And also, another great thing you could do with roofs is mixing it up. So have this, for example, and then instead of all your roofs being flat, have one that's a bit more funky and goes up a couple more blocks here and there and just looks a bit different, you know? So something like that. And just adding variation to your roof so it's not, for example, you're building a village. Don't make your whole village have flat roofs, and vary the material you're using for them, and it'll just look that much better. And make sure you're popping your roofs out, which will add more depth, and it'll look even better from there. And you'll have more depth in the build you're trying to recreate. And I think this trick makes builds look so much better. Now our next tip here lies in a bit with the roofs one, and it is about adding depth. So for example, you have a build, and this is one I still struggle with now, but for example, you have something like this, Now this looks great and all, and I wouldn't judge it at all. It looks pretty good. But with just one block forward of these pillars here, you can see that you have a lot nicer. It adds a bit more depth, and it's just a bit nicer like so. And even with that roof on top, it'll add even more depth, which will then look even better. So if you're making a house, instead of bringing your log directly against your pillar directly against your wall, pop it out a block just like so, and just like that, it'll look 100 times better. And after all, this is just a little piece of 3x3, but once you're putting this on a larger scale, you'll see that it can make a very, very drastic change. So now let's say you've applied all of these changes to your build and it still doesn't fit with you. You still don't like it. Well, maybe that's because you don't have the right shape. Because sometimes what people would do is it's completely fine to do this, and in some cases this is the answer to making a build look good, but sometimes people do this where they have a simple box here. It'd be more like this, but they just have a simple box, and this doesn't look really great compared to if you maybe add another box back here to your build. It can look a bit nicer. Or maybe add something like a tower. So if you'd want to have a tower over here, you'd do something like this, and then that'll add stuff. Or even just a chimney back here, you know? So mix it up. Maybe try to go, instead of a box, bring it back a bit, like so. And then make your build just poke out a few blocks back here, which in the end will look a lot better, and you'll have a really nicer build instead of that little box you created before. Okay guys, so next up on the list is don't be afraid to use different blocks. For example, over here I've got a brown mushroom block, which you probably haven't seen in many builds so far. But what people don't realize is mixed in with the right block, which in this case I'm using spruce, it can turn out to look really good, and it can end up to make a really cool build or a really cool wall. Whatever you're really trying to make, it can make it look really good just by using these new blocks. And if you're trying to make like a big city or something, having all these plain gray walls everywhere will look cool, but it won't look as good as if you varied them with some new blocks you haven't really tried yet. So try experimenting, go in a creative world, scroll down in your menu, and look for building blocks that you don't use very often. Here, for example, this is one that I wouldn't really do myself because I don't like these blocks, but if you want to try to build something with purple blocks, you could go ahead and figure out what complements these blocks here and make something cool out of them. And with that, it's gonna vary whatever you're trying to build, and it's gonna make it look that much better and a bit more varied. Okay guys, so that was supposed to be my very last tip, but I have another one here for you guys, and it's color palettes. If you're trying to make a cool build, try to find blocks that complement each other. For example, back there, we used some stone as a base. If I can grab that. We use some stone as a base. So what I like doing is laying it down here. We use stone as a base, and then spruce logs as as pillars. And then from there, if I were to continue building this up, I would have went ahead and used maybe some spruce here, which looks good as well, maybe as a roof or something. And while like piling these up together, you can see which one work together and which one don't really. For example, worked wood here wouldn't really look good in my opinion. That's just a personal thing. If you like it, well, you like it. And then dark oak, that could be nice. And you just scroll through your menu. This is a big part of Minecraft. Just scroll through your menu and look for blocks that look like they're the similar tones, or a tone that will look nice with another you have in your build. For example, here is let's see here. Maybe if I used blackstone here, or basalt, is it looks pretty good with stone, if you ask me. And if you mix it in well with your pillars, it can look pretty good. And then even there you have blackstone in there, which can also look pretty good, mixed in with the basalt. And from there, if you're experimenting that far, you realize that maybe you don't want that stone, maybe you want to have these, and you can find exactly what you want your build to be like, and what you want your build to end up as, and what you want it to look like in the end. But now that I have showed you all of my tips and tricks here on how to build better, I want to put these to use, and I'm going to build a cool house, and I am going to bring you guys back in once that is built, and I will show you guys step by step which trick and tip I used to complement the build and to add variation. And that should give you guys a good idea of how these tips and tricks can help you build a cool house slash village slash whatever it might be, how these can help you in building in Minecraft. Well guys, as you can see, I have built the house over here, and it is looking amazing. I love this one. I'll walk you guys through which of these tricks I used to build this, but right before that, this build needs bushes because no build is complete without bushes. That's my very last tip for today, is if you're building and you find a spot of a build looking weird, add some bushes. And just by adding that tiny bit of green life and a bit of green and leaves, just make the build look so much better and just so much more full. And as you can see, this looks pretty good. Now it looks a bit strange because I added a whole bunch of these weird ones like so. But yeah, so I think this turned out really well. This was kind of an opportunity for myself to get out of my comfort zone and try something new. I don't usually do these roofs here with the terracotta, but I think it ended up looking very, very good. But now to the tricks I used is over here. I used the texture trick here to make this look better, which I just realized now. I didn't add any stone bricks in this one for some reason. I guess I forgot. But yeah, so I added textures to the walls, which made them look even better. Then for the roof, I poked it out a couple blocks and did those upside down stairs and varied it with a block here. And then with over here, the little the trick to add depth, I did that as well. I actually used that color palette right there. I think this one is very cool, and it works very well with that terracotta right there. And so I used that depth trick with those logs over there. I used this as well to make a little weird thing poking out, but I think it turned out great. I used the trick to use different blocks. As you can see over there, I actually used the mushroom block to add up on these little areas, or else it would have ended up flush and looking weird. So I added that. And then I kind of played around with the color palettes. For example, I knew I wanted to use this thing here, so I grabbed some of these, and then not in the time lapse, but right before, I tried messing around with some ideas and figured that this combo here looked amazing, so I went with that. And by putting all these tricks together and adding leaves, this turned out really cool. And yeah, so that's how you can build better in Minecraft. Just gonna add a couple trapdoors here and there to make it look a bit different, vary the textures. But yeah, so that's it for today on how to build better in Minecraft. I hope this is going to help you guys to build in your own survival or creative worlds. And I hope this will be very useful to all of you out there looking to build some cool things in your own worlds. But yeah, so that's it for me today. I hope you all enjoyed. Again, if you would go down there and hit that like button and subscribe for me, it would mean the world, so please do that. But with that, guys, I will see you all in the very next tutorial or episode.